Good morning, everyone. Great to be back in Noosa, and congratulations to Des and Phil for putting on another very successful event. Very much a team effort, and thank you to the sponsors. So today I'm going to be providing an update on Ardea Resources and our recent collaboration with Sumitomo Metal Mining and Mitsubishi Corporation to help us develop the lowest cost nickel cobalt project in Australia and develop one of the largest nickel cobalt resources in the world to realise its full potential. This presentation is available on the Ardea and ASX websites. So we'll start with the board and the executive management team within Ardea. We have incredible depth of experience covering all aspects of the resources sector, from technical through to commercial, and we see that reflected in our capital discipline. We've still got 200 million shares on issue for a company that listed in February 2017. We've got zero debt, we're well funded, we're very much aligned with our very supportive shareholder base holding significant equity in the company. So we'll start with the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project. So all of our tenements are located within approximate 100-kilometre radius of the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, so we can leverage off the very supportive community and the existing infrastructure. It is the best resources operating jurisdiction in the world, bar none. So you see the image on the bottom right. So the tenements in green host approximately 4 million tonnes that contain nickel. And that is the project we refer to as the Goongarrie Hub, where the Japanese consortium are earning a 50% interest. The other tenements shown in red host 2 million tonnes that contain nickel, and Ardea will retain 100% of those projects. So we have incredible growth optionality already within the company. This figure highlights that there are very few low-risk resources operating jurisdictions around the world, and as I mentioned previously, Western Australia in particular, it is the best place to be located to develop your projects. So we've got some global conflict taking place in jurisdictions like Ukraine, we've got ongoing unrest in New Caledonia, and all these events disrupt supply chains and they reinforce supply chain security, and that's where Ardea and Australia is perfectly placed. We've had a lot of talk about the nickel market, and there is a modest surplus at the moment, but as this figure highlights, the nickel demand is going to continue to grow through traditional uses such as stainless steel. And then we've got rapid growth from the EV and energy storage sectors. So we expect to see the nickel market move back into a strong deficit from 2027 through to 2028 and see a corresponding increase in the nickel price. So our timing for production in 2029 is perfectly placed to capitalise upon that growing demand. But what I'll highlight through this presentation is that if we were in production today, we would be Australia's lowest cost producer, and we would also be very cost competitive with all our global peers. So a bit more about the deal and our collaboration with Sumitomo Metal Mining and Mitsubishi Corporation. This is an Australian first critical minerals sector collaboration. So Ardea currently holds 100% of our subsidiary company Kalgoorlie Nickel Proprietary Limited, which holds all the Goongarrie Hub tenements. Sumitomo and Mitsubishi are progressively earning a 50% interest. They will earn a 35% interest in KNPL by fully funding a high-quality, detailed, definitive feasibility study with a budget of $98.5 million. That will get them to 35%. They will then earn a further 15% to take them up to 50% by working with Ardea to secure the project development capital. So this is a large-scale project. We are working with industry-leading technical partners with the balance sheet strength to help attract the most cost-competitive debt in the world. And that will get them to their 50% interest, and Ardea will retain a significant stake in this globally significant project. So in terms of what the partners bring to the table, so on Ardea's side, we've got our globally significant mineral resource and ore reserve that's defined a plus 40-year mine life. So the project will be able to operate throughout the commodity price cycle and be able to operate cost competitively. We also have our local knowledge, strong stakeholder relationships in the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, Shire of Menzies, and great support from both the state and federal governments. With Sumitomo, I was quite fortunate to travel to the city of Nihama, and it's an industrial city about 700 kilometres southwest of Tokyo. And there, the level of integration through Sumitomo Metal Mining's copper smelter and refinery, nickel refinery, and downstream processing through PCAM and CAM, their level of integration and expertise in the nickel sector is world leading, and the level of utilisation and high standard of engineering is second to none. And then if we combine the global experience of Mitsubishi, they've been investing and supporting the Australian resources sector for decades, contributing to our economy and bringing in innovation to the sector. We have attracted the most perfect partners to see us develop the Goongarrie Hub. We ran a strategic partner process for several years. We engaged with a number of potentially high-quality partners, but the Japanese consortium were the clear standout because of their technical expertise and balance sheet strength. Just to put the size of the KMP into perspective, it's one of only 2 Australian projects in the top 10 resources globally. Most of the other top 10 projects are located in jurisdictions such as New Caledonia, Indonesia and Russia. And as I highlighted in that country risk jurisdiction slide, Australia nickel projects have to be developed to ensure that supply chain diversity and security. The challenges of the Australian nickel sector have been greatly overstated, and we will see here the unique attributes of Goongarrie that will see us be able to cost competitively compete with bottom cost quartile OPEX. So here we have a series of stacked cross sections looking north, and we have the resource block model colour coded by nickel grade, and then the resource optimisation, so the pit shell shown in black. So the key points are the continuity of high grade plus 1% nickel mineralisation, and these factors contribute to what we call the goethite ore. It's very soft, it's free dig, there's a low strip ratio that contributes to the low mining cost. From an ore processing perspective, because the ore is soft, there's very low energy requirement in the comminution circuit. There's very low acid consumption and there's rapid leach kinetics. So that's what gives us the very low operating costs. If we look at this cross section at Goongarrie South, we can see the nickel grade envelope in blue, cobalt grade envelope in red, and in places the mineralisation's over 100 metres thick. This is unique to the Goongarrie laterites. There's no other laterite deposit like this in the world. Most laterites are 20 to 40 metres thick, horizontal, but because of preferential weathering at Goongarrie, we have this unique goethite formation, and again, that's what contributes to our low operating cost. This is the highway deposit, 30 kilometres north of Goongarrie, and it will be one of our satellite ore feed sources. I'd just like to highlight the core photo in the bottom right. So this browny red material, that's the material I've referred to as goethite. And then we have these coarse white nodules, and that's magnesite, or as we call it, mineralised neutraliser. So every processing operation around the world that uses sulfuric acid to dissolve the ore into solution and extract the ore-bearing minerals such as nickel and cobalt, the acid needs to be neutralised to safely dispose of it in the environment. Most operations use limestone and they have to pay for that, they have to transport it to site. We will be sourcing our neutraliser through conventional open pit mining, But this material also grades 0.3 to 1% nickel, so we will be getting additional nickel cobalt units through neutralising the acid, and again that contributes to our low operating cost. So you see here a number of figures that highlight our bottom cost quartile OPEX. Up the top here, allowing for the cobalt byproduct quartile, less than $6,000 a tonne. We compare this with some research completed by Benchmark Mineral Intelligence that indicated that for a range of nickel products, the Indonesian OPEX was between $5,000 and $15,000 US a tonne per tonne of nickel produced. Ardea is able to compete at about $6,000 US a tonne. So as I mentioned, if we were in production today, we would be the lowest cost producer in Australia and cost competitive on a global basis. And the other key point to highlight is that last year, 78% of the world's nickel was produced from laterite or oxide sources. We expect to see that trend to continue, but we need to see Australian laterite projects such as the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project developed to provide that essential supply to meet future demand. We have very high ESG credentials for our project, and that's another factor that's appealed to the Japanese consortium. We will incorporate in-pit tailings disposal and make the most of our semi-arid environment. So that material will dry out, and over time we will progressively rehabilitate and return those open pit voids to their natural state. We also have very low CO2 emissions, and that means that all Australian nickel cobalt production, particularly from projects such as the Goongarrie Hub, will be highly sought after and will be purchased in preference to nickel from other jurisdictions. Our definitive feasibility study on the Goongarrie Hub is underway. We've got infill drilling, we've got metallurgical test work, we're awarding key contracts to key service providers such as Ausenco, one of the event sponsors. So the DFS is going to allow a strong and regular news flow. We're not sitting on our hands waiting for the commodity price cycle to turn. We are advancing our project with significant expenditure and quality work. We also have a very large land holding, approximately 3,500 square kilometres prospective for a range of critical minerals, nickel sulfides, rare earths, and opportunities to expand our laterite resources. So we can continue with that internal pipeline of growth through projects already held by Ardea. So just in summarising, we feel our timing is perfect to be completing the definitive feasibility study. We are working with industry-leading partners to maximise the potential of our project and develop Australia's next large-scale, long-life, low-cost nickel cobalt operation. We have the contacts and we have the internal team members and the dedication to see our project succeed. So if you'd like to see some more, please come and visit the Ardea pod just next to the conference registration area. Welcome any questions. Really appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the event.